Hello to everyone tuning in and welcome back to Turkish series Stars. I can already feel that familiar spark we share every time we press play together, that sensation that we're meeting in the same warm corner to talk about stories that move us. Today, I want to take you into a tale that has stirred countless hearts and kept conversations alive long after the cameras stopped rolling. It's a story about a connection that looks effortless on screen, but is rooted in something far deeper in real life. A steady, respectful bond between two artists whose chemistry made millions believe in love again. Yes, we're talking about the rare and radiant understanding between Alina and Alp Navras, a pairing that seems to live both inside the frame and beyond it. If you crave narratives that linger, if you like to watch a bond form one glance at a time and grow into something magnetic, then you'll want to stay with me until the end. Before we dive into this, make sure you're part of our family by subscribing to Turkish series Stars. We craft these stories for you with all the care in the world, and I promise what's coming is layered with the emotion and insight you love. Let's begin with the most undeniable truth. When Alina and Alp Navras share a scene, their talent doesn't just add up, it multiplies. Their eyes do more talking than most scripts. Their pauses are not empty, they're bridges between hearts. The way they can pull a tender moment from silence, or turn a simple line into a confession we all feel, has turned their collaboration into something we still talk about, something that prompts rewatch after rewatch. Watching them work is like watching two expert dancers. Each strong alone, breathtaking together. Their performances draw you close and keep you there, not because of spectacle, but because of precision and soul. That connection found its purest expression in the series that came to define their pairing for a global audience. The story itself was a storm, a sweeping romance weighed down by secrets, ambition, and the kind of fate that tests people in ways they never expect. It wasn't just lovers crossing a river. It was a constant flood of risks and second chances. Through it all, Alina and Alp built those characters with layers you could peel back over time. Every stubborn choice felt human. Every mistake had a heartbeat. Every tender word carried the weight of what came before and the hope of what might follow. The electricity between them wasn't a trick of lighting or clever music. It was the result of two actors listening to each other, honoring the material, and surrendering to the truth of the moment. But if we stop at the front side of the camera, we miss the real marvel. The foundation of their on-screen magic is, in so many ways, the work ethic and trust they cultivate outside the shot. Set life is relentless, long days, endless rewrites, the rush to meet deadlines, the puzzling changes that happen last minute. In that environment, kindness becomes a currency, and respect becomes oxygen. Alina and Alp nurtured that atmosphere. They arrived prepared, handled the hard scenes with patience, and made space for each other's process. You can sense it when you watch the final cut. This is a bond built in the trenches of early call times and late-night rehearsals, in the tiny moments between takes when one actor says to the other, "You've got this, let's try it like this," and magic happens. There were so many days during that breakout project when pressure could have fractured everything. Instead, it forged something brighter. While publicity demanded their presence in cities far from home and their phones wouldn't stop buzzing, they learned to tune out the noise together and focus on what mattered, the work. During interviews, one would talk about the other with an ease that felt genuine, pointing out the discipline, the courage, or the listening that made difficult scenes flow. Fans watched, and they didn't just see two stars, they saw partners in a craft, anchoring each other when the world was spinning fast. One thing that stands out in every appearance is how conversational their admiration is. Nothing is exaggerated, nothing is sugar-coated, it feels like two people who have stood side by side through complicated arcs and come out with a deeper respect. Alina often shines a light on the way Alp brings stillness to complicated emotional beats. How he can carry a character's unspoken conflict with a single look that lingers a second longer than expected. Alp, in turn, makes a point of recognizing Alina's instinct, the way she connects a character's past to a tiny gesture in the present moment and makes us all feel the history in a single breath. This isn't the kind of praise people give to fill time, it's the praise that comes from paying attention. What followed is part of why their names, when said together, still light up comment sections and fan pages. Their major collaboration became a passport that traveled farther than anyone predicted. The story cut across languages and latitudes, and in each place it arrived, people found something familiar, a look of longing, a stubborn promise, a decision to fight for love even when logic said to walk away. It wasn't just a ratings win, it was a cultural ripple. Friends recommended the show to friends, mothers watched with daughters, and strangers in different time zones cried at the same scenes. The power of that isn't accidental, it's built one truthful moment at a time by artists who refuse to take shortcuts. A lot of this, I believe, has to do with the maturity they carry into their careers. Fame stirs the air. It invites opinions. It wants to turn your life into headlines. Alina and Alp chose a different path. Rather than feed the daily speculation, they centered their work, guarded the sacred parts of their private worlds, and let their craft speak louder than rumor. This isn't a common choice, and it isn't an easy one. But every time we see them handle a press line with grace, or pivot away from gossip to talk about the scenes, or thank the crew alongside the cast, we are reminded that longevity is built on character. The way they managed the afterglow of their shared success could be a masterclass in how to weather attention without losing your feet. They didn't burn bright and vanish, they cooled the flame to a steady light. They kept studying scripts, asking questions, and choosing roles that challenged them. When fate brought them together for reunions, brand events, or award stages, a hush followed them, not the stunned hush of surprise, but the affectionate hush of nostalgia. Photographs from those moments spread like small celebrations. You could feel an entire community of fans exhale, as if to say, "We remember. We still care." Of course, the hallmark of a great pairing isn't only the high notes, it's the way their presence lingers long after the final episode. In that regard, the effect of Alina and Alp has been enormous. Messages pour in even now from people who say that watching their scenes offered comfort during a difficult season, or gave them courage to tell the truth, or reminded them that gentleness is a strength. There's a reason their audience is protective of that legacy. The bond felt honest. This honesty doesn't require a label. It thrives in the space where two artists work fearlessly and trust the audience to see what's real. What makes their story particularly inspiring is how neatly it resists cynicism. Everyone talks about how cutthroat the industry can be, how easy it is to fall into rivalry or bitterness, especially when attention is uneven and success comes in waves. But throughout all of these years, Alina and Alp have modeled something healthier: mutual cheerleading, quiet resilience, and a refusal to turn each other into competitors. You can see it in the small gestures. The way one makes room for the other to answer, the way they share the credit, the way they protect the work from unnecessary noise. To understand the scope of their influence, look at the living rooms around the world where that series became a ritual. Look at the late-night conversations their characters ignited about forgiveness, dignity, and the cost of pride. Look at the endless fan edits that pair their scenes with music and turn them into mini-movies of yearning. There is a universe of emotion attached to their names, a universe built on patience and timing and the courage to be sincere. And here's something else: they've shown us that you can separate what you give to the public from what you keep for yourself. They can walk a red carpet with complete poise and then slip away to a private dinner, laughing like two friends who have seen each other at their most exhausted and their most triumphant. They can accept an award with gratitude and still remember to thank the unseen hands that make their work possible. It is this careful balance that has helped their connection feel unshakable. Not because it's shouted from rooftops, but because it's tended to quietly, like a flame protected from the wind. When we look back, what we see is not only a highlight reel of captivating scenes, but a blueprint for collaboration. A sense that two people can meet in a challenging, high-pressure space and build something nourishing there. Their partnership tells us that excellence is contagious. When one person shows up fully, the other rises to meet them. And audiences are smart. We feel it right away when two performers are sailing the same current, catching each other when the waters turn rapid. So, how do we summarize a bond like this? We could say it's a shared devotion to craft. We could say it's a friendship cultivated in the quiet corners of the set. We could say it's a promise to keep respect at the center of everything, even when fame gets loud. All of these are true. But maybe, most of all, it's a reminder that stories work on us so deeply because real human beings pour their hearts into creating them, and sometimes those hearts recognize each other. If you are one of the many who still keep screen caps on your phone, who still quote favorite lines at odd hours, who still smile when you hear the soundtrack play in a cafe, then know this, your affection is part of the story too. It kept the flame alive. It helped the work travel farther. And it encourages the artists at the center of it to keep seeking roles that stretch them in moments that catch in the throat. As we close, I'm thinking about the images that endure. The quiet smiles between takes, the way a hand rests for just a second longer on a shoulder in a scene, the laughter on a night when the whole set was tired and someone told a joke that saved the day. These images don't show up on billboards, but they are etched into the memory of everyone who watched and cared. That's the real story of Alina and Alp Navras, a constant, respectful, profoundly human connection that turned their work into something many of us carry like a favorite secret. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with me here on Turkish Series Stars. I hope revisiting the journey of Alina and Alp filled you with the same warmth it gave me to tell it. I want to hear what stayed with you most. Was there a look you can't forget? A scene you rewatched a dozen times? A moment at an awards show when you thought, yes, this is what grace looks like. Share it with us in the comments. Your thoughts are why we do this. If this story touched you, give it a like, send it to the friend who introduced you to their work, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next deep dive. We'll keep bringing you the stories that set your heart racing and your mind wondering, always told with care, always grounded in the art and the humanity behind the scenes. Until next time, I'm sending you a huge hug from everyone at Turkish Series Stars. Take care, stay curious, and keep the love for great storytelling alive.